All right. Well, it says I am live.
Give a big round of the hand. Give a big round. Give a big round. Give a big round. Give a big round. Give a big round of the hand. Give a big round. Give a big round. Big round. Give a big round. Give a big.
We could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the Parents' Lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the Parents' Lounge is the cure to staying sane.
Welcome to another Parental Mental Health Thursday evening with Jason Gowan. I'm Jamie Kaler, and you are in the Parents' Lounge.
Hello there, everyone.
Hey.
Your old pal Pooh Bear here.
I thought you were making fun of me because that's what I sound like.
No, I was being Pooh.
Yeah, it's I know a lot of people during that opening, like just that opening song makes me go, oh, I need to make a cocktail, because that's how we started this whole thing in the pandemic.
Where it's become a Pavlovian response for me. Like I hear it and I'm like, where is the alcohol?
I think there's other songs like anytime I hear Roxy music, I get a little al dente, because it was like my sex music in college. You know, like you have this like, but now I'm like, I got the Barry White voice going.
I get that whenever anybody turns on the Lion King.
Wait, I'm back up. You get a little fired up for the Lion King.
Oh yeah.
Hey! I should probably pull my mic over. What do you think about them apples?
Yeah,
Dude, I'm out of it. It's so funny. You can still hear me totally fine. I'm so in the fog. Like, you know, when you're sick, like we've been banged up. We've had the flu here for a week because, as we all know, kids, do you remember? Let me ask you, everyone out there, do you remember before you had kids when you didn't get sick ever?
That doesn't sound familiar to me.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh wait. We mean when I never got sick ever.
Oh my God, dude. We were so sick this week. I've had the flu like bad, like coughing. It felt like I was coughing up shards of glass. Like I couldn't breathe. I was like, you know, it's like 3 a.m. and you're soaking wet and you end up watching TV at 3 a.m. I think I was watching some crazy movie with Tom Hanks, Bridge of Spies, where you're like, wow, that's a Spielberg film I'd never heard of. And all of a sudden you're up at 3 a.m, sick as a dog, going, it's not a bad movie. We're just out of it. I was out of it.
I have, yeah, we've been battling. Well, see, now we're in false spring here in Pennsylvania, which is the time of year when winter is like 60% of the day, and then we get 40% spring. But unfortunately, all the flowers and trees are blooming, and I opened our windows because we had a nice day, and now I am just plugged with gook because allergies have officially crushed my soul here. Narcolepsy's here.
Narcolepsy.
Brandon,
I love that Brandon changed his name. Brandon has a new name. Fanimator 101. Yes.
Hey, hi, hello to all our fans over there on TikTok or on Twitter or X or whatever it is. You guys, we can't see your comments live during the show over on X. So if you head over to youtube.com/the Parents Lounge or facebook.com/the Parents Lounge, you'll be able to watch this live and comment along. So join us if you're able.
So if you really want to just pop on and ridicule us, which we're pretty much used to, then I mean, you can't hurt me any worse than my children have. So if you want to come over and just utterly destroy me verbally, then those are the places to do it. Because if you're going to yell at me on Twitter, I can't hear you.
That's true. Yeah, we can't even see
No.
it. I locked myself out of my Twitter on accident, so I can't even get in there to read what they're saying.
Yeah, I don't think you're missing anything over there anyway. I don't know what's happening. We weren't even going to do the show. Justin is doing a comedy show in Reno, Nevada with Bobcat Goldthwait, and I was sick. And then we were like, "Yeah, let's just do it and talk." Mike Knox Comedy.
Yes. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Yes, look at. We gave instructions. People followed it. Stuff's happening, brother. This is how all of a sudden this is how it all takes off. Right there.
Because we gave a simple instruction. Mm-hmm. So now for you that is on Twitter, if you could hop over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and you could give us a like, subscribe, and a follow over there, and maybe a review, we would really appreciate that.
We actually had some really great podcasts this week will go up. We put a bunch up. For those of you who don't know, we had a glitch on our system on Apple, and the podcast kind of came down, and then we reloaded them back up. So if you all of a sudden get an influx of podcasts, it's because of that. But we posted we posted Jeff Foxworthy, Kayla Sullivan, Donnell Rawlings, Dave Keckner. We posted it. People are like, "Oh my God, you guys have had some great people on your show." And I was like, I know. But we're just terrible publicists. And so that's what we need you guys for. So share to other parents to help us out.
Yeah, let other people know about the show. Charlie Blanchard says, am I here? You are.
I don't think she is. I don't think she's here. But we see you on Facebook. Ask your doctor about influxes in podcasts.
Katie's here.
Have you suffered an influx recently in your podcast? Then Febraxin might be right for you. Side effects include suicidal thoughts, anal leakage. Wait, back up. All I had was an influx in my podcast, and now I'm leaking suicidal thoughts out of my butt? Yes, Jamie, it fell apart very quickly. All right, so it's so funny because I'm actually kind of drunker than I normally am, and it's because I'm sick.
Is the cough medicine?
No, I haven't had any cough medicine yet. I'm gonna jack it up later. I'm having a nice, on a couple rocks. I'm gonna load it up with cough medicine. Yeah.
So I'm still hallucinating from a medicine, and I was talking to Justin because Justin Ruppel is our foremost authority on narcotic medicines. And
by the way, that dude should be a pharmacist. Mike Knox Comedy says it's like Olestra chips. That's the anal leakage one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have it. I don't have it currently.
You don't have anal leakage?
No, but it's only Thursday.
I like that. That's a term. Somebody it used to be the sharts, right? It was the sharts. I have a bad case of the sharts, but now it's like
I guess I never. Okay, so I must have put shart and anal leakage in two totally different categories. Like a shart was a shart. Anal leakage to me was another fluid entirely, like some sort of mucusy thing.
Oh.
Am I wrong?
I think it's like when you're caught. You pull your daughter's boyfriend. It's like when your daughter's boyfriend pulls his car out of the driveway and there's a big oil stain in the driveway, and you're like, "Dude, did you just have leakage in my driveway?" And you're like, "I did. Unfortunately, I did." Oh, what was it in Seinfeld? Poppy's on the couch, and right. That's what we're talking. I think that's what we're talking about.
It is. Oh my
boy,
gosh.
this show got off on the wrong foot.
I know, like the San Jose Sharks.
The San Jose Shorts.
Katie says it's more of a dribble.
It's well, then it wouldn't be hockey. It would be basketball. It would be the Utah Blaz.
Andrew Torrance says, do you prefer comments on Facebook Live to those on Instagram? Yes, because Instagram, we don't see those coming in here either. For some reason, that platform hasn't sent them to us yet. I have to manually go over and look. So if I'm deep in conversation, we don't see them right away all the time. So yes, by all means, come over to Facebook or YouTube and watch along with us, because that's where we'll get to see our comments as they happen.
I got to tell you, we've only been in the show for 10 minutes, and already the comments and questions have been more productive than they ever have in the history of this show.
Well, Thursday seemed, the fans said Thursday was the better night.
Thursday's better.
Maybe they're just more attentive.
Thursday's better for me. The news is going, dude, our kid, is it everybody's school? Does it just seem like it's mayhem nowadays? Like nothing's working. Like there was another bullying incident at our school, I guess, or something or other. And I'm seeing. Oh, here's what happened today. Here's what happened. How to eat. So my daughter had to read How to Eat Fried Worms. Do you know the book?
I do.
It's a pretty famous book. Everybody knows it. How to Eat Fried Worms. So what they do is they read the book and then they watch the movie. But they also have a gummy worm contest day where you have to throw a gummy worm. You have to guess how many gummy worms are in a container. There's a gummy worm basket shot or whatever, all these gummy worms. So they needed a bunch of parents to donate their time to come in and run the games. So I went today. I forgot all about this. That's how I started my morning. At 8 o'clock this morning, I did gummy worm games with a whole third grade class.
What? This is the first time hearing about this.
I know. Dude, I blacked it out because all of a sudden, I'm going to tell you right now. Listen, I have 2 kids and I have no patience for them. You have 3. You have maybe less patience than I do. I don't know. You're not great with it either, right?
No, there's a reason I drink on Thursdays, Jamie, and Friday and Saturday and Sunday morning,
and then Monday, and also I think a little Tuesday, and then
Tuesday was show night, so I was always drinking then anyway because it was business.
So I am, and so here's the game. I have to do the throw. So the kids, they tie the gummies and they throw it as far as they can. Some kids are like, some kids threw it behind them. One kid forgot to let go and threw it at her feet. And it was whoever could throw the furthest. And these kids. So it's in a parking lot. There's 9 feet between each parking line. And so the kid has to throw it and then count by 9s. They have to walk. They have to cross the line and go 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. And I'm kind of a math I'm a math stickler with my kids. So when we're driving to school, I'm running multiplication tables. We're doing spelling things. I don't know. I'm a crazy person. I'm on the edge of the spectrum, I guess, that way. I was shocked. None of these kids, they go to the first one. They go 9. They get to the second line. They go, I go 9 times 2. And the kid's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then, so I look at the teacher and I go, man, you are definitely grossly underpaid, my friend. He goes, you have no idea. He goes, you got to have patience with I go, I don't have it. He started laughing. I go, I don't have any patience. We get up to like 9 times 5. The kid finally gets to 36, goes to 9 to 5. And I go, 9 times 5. And the kid's like, I go, well, it ends in a 5 or a 0. You know that because it's times 5. That's all there is. And the kid's like, and so finally I'm like, what's 10 times 5? The kid goes, 50, back it up 5. Like this was every kid that went through. And I was like,
what?
It was kind of funny. It was real, but they were also they
really
were playing
funny,
games. They were scattered. And then I talked to him. He goes, one day the kid's like, I don't know. And then the next day the kid's like, could do like calculus. Like and I was so crazy. But he had this thing. He'd make them go, look at me. And they'd have to go, 1, 2, look at you. And then it was crazy. And I go, I get it, man. And I was there for 90 minutes. And by the time I left, I sat in the parking lot for like 20 minutes on my way out, just going, I'm a wreck of a human person. And how are teachers so grossly underpaid? It's got to be the hardest job on earth.
So we're having an issue. So my oldest is in 2nd grade. And apparently the 2nd grade class has made such a reputation for themselves as just being the most terrible class to ever exist. And these are the COVID kids. They're like the ones that came in under that umbrella. And I don't know what happened in our town, but there's something off about those kids. Like the whole class is just not okay.
I think it's all kids today, because here's what happens. So I was,
is it other grades? Because they're not saying the kindergarten or
grades.
first grade are as bad as the second grade class.
It's other grades. It's every school. Like my wife and I were talking about, there was just a kind of a hoopla lately. I think COVID had kind of passed far enough, and now the kids are kind of entrenched. But the truth is, it feels like every child, like, we used to go, remember, every child is special. And we've gone too far. At some point, you're like, you're not all special. Get in line and be part of the group. Because if everyone gets that much special attention and that kind of, you can't do it. There's 30-some kids in the class, and you're like, this is crazy, man. But every kid is like, it's their brand. They're working on their social media accounts. Like, I don't know anymore, man.
Let me ask you this question. Where do you think I would be if somebody convinced me I was special as a child? Where would I be now?
I think you'd be worse off.
I honestly,
I think you would be, because I think you would feel like there's a weird entitlement. There's a weird entitlement to kids today where they're going, we've talked about this before. You keep giving them participation trophies. Man, life's not fair. You get out in life and it's not easy. And I think kids are used to having, that we call it like snowplow people, where you kind of snowplow people and let them through get all their problems out of their way. And they're not used to dealing with problems and solve. They have no problem solving skills, I would say. What do you think?
No, I mean, I grew up in the other generation, and I barely have any. So these kids have none. We have our producer and hilarious friend, and soon to be joining us in the ranks of fatherhood is here. Shall I bring him in?
I think we should talk to Taylor for a bit here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Taylor Sokol. Hello, sir.
AKA Mr. Doubtfire.
Oh, hello there, dears. Oh, Jason, Jamie, we got the J squared and top it off with T here. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you,
man? He's, by the way, his wife has a bag packed. We asked Taylor to come in, especially tonight, because his wife has a bag packed. Now you have a bag packed, and you're going to have a child within like 2 weeks or something, right?
Yes. So right now, while we're doing this live, it's about 12 days from our due date. So coming up.
I thought he was going to say she was in labor.
So she's at the hospital right now, and I said, honey, I have to do this because there's got to be some wisdom, but no, it was funny because I called a friend of mine. They're like, oh, is the baby's like, no. So anytime I call anyone, everyone's on high alert now, but yeah, hopefully, everything will go okay. But we were laughing because our cousins, their daughter just turned 3 today. We're trying to keep them as far away from other people's birthdays as possible, but we've passed one threshold. But no, we're excited.
Are you guys on the cusp of a zodiac sign or something? Are you thinking I remember thinking like, oh, she's gonna be a Leo. Like we were like, oh, Hannah's gonna be a Virgo. Oh no, she came early. She's a Leo. My wife, yeah, big deal.
It's funny. I hadn't even thought about that. I would, mine is that my nerdy brain was hoping May 4th because it's Star Wars Day. So, and my wife just rolls her eyes. She's like, I'd rather Cinco de Mayo. I'm like, yeah, that's what we need to promote as margaritas for our son. But,
You guys are, she's a drunk and you're a nerd, I guess.
Yeah. So it's a great combination.
Even if the baby is born on the 5th, it should be Revenge of the 5th, right? Like you can go that
That's
route,
true.
right?
So that's true. So I'm hoping Labor May 3rd and then going into May 4th. So
you know what, Jamie, we'll have to have Taylor on and bring Brandon Wayne on. Brendan Wayne.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. He just coached at my kid's soccer practice. But for those of you who don't know, Danny LaCava, aka Brendan Wayne, John Wayne's grandson, he's the Mandalorian. He's the guy under the helmet, and he does all the Comic Cons. Yeah. So he works like 90% of the time, and then Pedro Pascal comes in and goes, "Hey, look at my face," and then puts it back on. Then it's then it's Brendan. So Brendan actually does really well, and they're off shooting a movie right now or something. But he's a good cat. Yeah, he's a good guy. He
That's
does have
funny.
to come back. Let's talk about, since you're here, the thought process. Jason, can you take yourself back to like just before the babies were born?
So when I met my wife, Jace was already here, but I remember how perfect life was with just one. Because like we had he was 3 years old. We had a routine. Everything was solid. And I remember crying that night when Jace left with his grandparents, thinking my life will be ruined after they arrive tomorrow. And I could not have been more right about that. The twins destroyed everything in this house twice over.
Including your wife.
Yes. They tried to kill her right out of the chute.
They tried to kill her right out of the chute. They came here and they were like, no, we're going to kill you.
I can't be sure,
who
but
don't
they may have
know,
given me the
how many
cancer.
days was it? Was it like 2 days, 3 days?
6 days.
6 days later, your wife had a stroke after giving birth and almost left us. Almost left you with brand new twins. I mean, that alone. Actually, it was kind of like you had another child because your wife was incapacitated with a stroke.
It's funny because people always make the joke that my wife has four kids here, but really, it's kind of the other way around.
You had 4 kids. Yeah,
I have 4 kids. Yeah, because she'll never drive a car again.
Yeah, do you know that, Taylor? Did you hear that?
No, I did not know that.
So she had a stroke. She had a blood clot that got through. She had a hole in her heart we didn't know was there, and the stress of the birth, the twin births, she did them naturally. The 2 caused the clot to throw, and it got through the hole in her heart and went to her brain literally 6 days after they were born. So she almost died. We were away from the twins for 2 weeks, right out of the gate. And
where was she? Not to get crazy to the moment, but you hear, oh, she had a stroke. Literally, was she standing in the kitchen holding the babies? How did it go?
It was really weird because my parents just randomly showed up here with dinner, and they never just came here unannounced ever. And I don't know whether it was this excitement of the new babies. They showed up here, and I was talking to my oldest and my dad, and my mom yelled, "Jason, something's happening with Melissa." And she was doing a double breastfeed at the time. And my mom had grabbed Anthony, and as I came in, I could see Melissa's body was starting to contort, and she started to drop Logan, and I jumped forward and caught him. And I handed him to my mom, who got them out of the room. And I had taken care of my grandparents previous to this, or before we were together. And I knew the signs of a stroke because there was drooping on the side of her, this is a stroke. So we called. The ambulance was here in minutes. Melissa and I go in the ambulance. They see her. They tell me that they know it's a stroke and that I have to make a decision about whether or not to give this TPA medicine. And so just to kind of give a backstory, this medicine goes in, it'll break up a clot immediately, but it also can cause severe brain bleeding. Now, twice before I was given the option to give this medicine on both my grandparents, it was the medicine that was responsible for the brain bleed that killed both of them. And now I'm here with my wife, who is a new mom, and I'm asked, do you want to give this medicine? And I'm like, it's either 3 strikes you're out or 3 times the charm.
Jeez.
And I
0-2 fastball, and you're like, I've seen this pitch twice, man. I really think I got this one.
And so they said, she's significantly younger than your grandparents were. I understand your apprehension because you do feel some guilt that you were responsible for that. And I said, okay, we'll do it. And they gave it to her. And then they're like, well, we have to life flight her. We don't have the facility to handle what she's going through. We're going to life flight her 2 hours away. And I was like, well, I can go with her, right? And they're like, how much do you weigh? And I told them, and they're like, you are 15 pounds too heavy to go on that helicopter. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I love the number. Dude, you're 15 over.
Yeah, so I guess it was a weight with the crew and the fuel. It was like a
yes, of course it is. Hey, but you're like, hey,
Well,
you
it's
can't drop,
horseshit.
you can't drop 15 pounds of fuel off of the thing. You're telling me you can't throw something else out of the.
There's something else you can take for ballast, you know?
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be something. It's not that far of a flight. So her parents arrived at the hospital. We drive to there. They call me on my cell phone. We have terrible cell phone service, and they're like, "We're going to go into surgery." So I, for 2 hours, have no idea what's happened to my wife. I don't know if I'm ever going to see her alive again. I don't know if I'm ever going to hear her talk again. I don't know what's going to happen.
Where the babies are home with your parents?
With my parents, yes.
That's terrifying. They're 6 days old.
6 days old. And
6 days old.
They depend on, at this point, they're breastfed. They don't have formula, none of it.
Right.
We don't have a stock of this stuff. This is all brand new for us. And we got to the hospital and they had done the surgery and she was already talking, but she didn't know who I was. And
but that sounds, I mean, I know you guys and that sounds normal for her with you.
I feel in a hospital setting, it was just a little. She didn't turn into Catwoman then, Jamie. It wasn't like that.
That was okay. You weren't cosplaying Iron Man at the time.
It
was the Iron Man. Trust me, with the Iron Man mask, she goes, "That's my husband."
It was a very intricate game of doctor that went really far.
She just didn't recognize you without your cosplay outfit on. That's all.
Well, if she ever needed to put you in a lineup, just make sure. Oh, that's the one with the Iron Man.
The Iron Man.
That's insane, though. I didn't know that,
that's
Jason.
Insane.
But that's.
Hey, just to go back, do you think maybe the kids were sucking too hard and like sucked her brain? You know, like too far.
I mean,
did I go too far, Taylor? That's too far. I think I went too far.
I'm okay with it. I also realize I'm giving like horror birth stories to the guy that's just about to go.
Well, my wife has already gone, like she's already had I think because it's coming so soon, she's had the anxiety of her mind going there. And it was just funny. Some of them, you have to laugh at them after the fact because it just how she's like, I'm worried something's going to happen to me. And then it's going to be you and our son, and he's going to become a weird Florida kid because for some reason, she thinks I'm going to move down to Florida with my parents. I'm like, not that I wouldn't stay where I'm at. I have people here, but I'm like, why does it have to be weird Florida kid? I don't understand this. So
you're just going to Florida. You're going to Florida.
Yeah. My parents live 30 minutes from Disney. So, you know, I would love my son to live in a Florida lifestyle. So, but no, I'm excited. I think there is going to be all that kind of anxiety coming up, but I mean, it's nice to be with you guys because, you know, you've had years now and this is still very fresh. So it's fun to come to this and kind of talk about, you know, everything that it's nice to get advice from people who are veterans of it. It's funny when you get advice from the people that are like, just had a baby, like less than a month. And like, you know, I had family, it was like, oh, I want to tell you this and that. I'm like, well, that's nice, but you've been a parent for a hot minute. Let me get to the veterans, please.
My favorite were like
nobody's story is going to match Jason's. I mean, that story alone is, I mean, his story is the one that listen, their bodies they grew a human body, inside of their own. So like my wife was the same. They're all the same of like, you're terrified that stuff's going to happen. And then all of a sudden you hear Jason's story and you're like, wait, stuff like that does happen. And you're like, yeah, sometimes it does, man.
Yeah, we were kind of the 1%, like the 1%. This kind of crazy thing happens to. Like it was just it was a freak. And they told us, like, I remember the doctor saying to me, he's like, "Well, I need to be honest with you. There's very little chance she'll live longer than 2 years." And like even with these fixes, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And, you know, thankfully at this point, you know, we're 5 years out and, you know, her heart is, you know, they've found the right combination of medicines and she's so far, you know, continues to truck along, but we never know what's next for us.
You gotta appreciate every moment.
Listen, I got news for you.
My wife doesn't have 3 months later. Go ahead, James.
My wife doesn't have a pacemaker and it's still like every day is like, we made it. Our anniversary is coming up next week, and every year I always just say the same thing. I go, if you had 13 under, you lost. Like we made it this far, man.
When's your guys' dinner? Is this your wedding anniversary coming up?
April 30th. Yeah.
Okay, ours is May 6th, our first year of being married. So it's kind of crazy that's all coming around this time.
Oh, so you're freshly into the marriage. How long have you guys been together?
We've been together three years in August, that we started dating, and then got engaged a year later. So yeah.
Well, you definitely don't want the baby on your anniversary.
No.
It's like when somebody's born on Christmas. One of my best friends, her birthday's September 11th. Every September. What's crazy is I always remember her birthday. I have two friends, and that's their birthday, September 11th. And once that happened, every year after that, they were like, "Hey, we're having a birthday party," and people would be like, for the first couple of years, it was pretty emotional, and people would go to be at birthday parties, and they'd be, "Happy birthday, man! Happy birthday, September 11th! Happy birthday!" Nowadays, kids today don't know. They're like, "Wait, what?" A long time ago. It's like the Kennedy assassination.
It's still weird. I mean, that for me, I remember I was still in school when that was happening, and that was kind of just a weird thing to think about. And we were talking about last time I was here about our baby moon. We went on our way back from where we were at, was near the Flight 93 Memorial, where they have this whole thing that the third plane that
Let's roll
took over. Yeah. So
that was baby.
That was an emotional thing to go to, because I went through it, and they did a really great memorial to that. And I was glad I went to that to check that out, because they put together something really, really special and memorable. I think it's heartbreaking, but I'm glad I went and checked that out, because that's literally about a little over an hour and a half from where we live. So
yeah, that's funny. Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy, man, looking back and stuff like it. Here's the thing I will tell you about having kids, I think, is whether it's unbelievably horrible circumstances or unbelievably happy circumstances, everything is so much more emotionally rich in a great way. I think it makes, like, I tapped into feelings I didn't even know existed. And I got married so late in life. I was like late 40s. I had kids at 50. So I was kind of in such a, year in, year out groove. I knew what I was, it just was like redundant to a way where you're like certain great things would happen. Sure. But then, I didn't get too phased. Nothing was too high or too low. And then all of a sudden you have kids, and it spikes the emotional meters up and down. That's all it does, is like, they're just, look, new extensions of my nervous system. There we go.
Exactly that, Jamie. That's the best description of it I've ever heard. Is that, like, Taylor? There's something, and we'll talk about it after you have the baby. But like, there is something that happens when you see that baby for the first time that changes you forever. I mean, it just at every level changes you. And I'm interested to see, like, how you feel about that after, because we've never, Jamie and I already had kids when we started this, so.
I was always laughing at the things leading up to it. I remember just like the normal things of, we were talking about going to the hospital, and she's like, "Oh, do you want to see it come out?" And I was like, "No, I actually don't want to see anything come out. I'll hold your hand and look up." And then we were going through the birthing classes, like, "Oh, the video's going to come up. Oh, well, I got to see this now." And it wasn't that bad, but I was just like, I was making more of a deal than it was, just to get a reaction out of her. But I was like, I don't want to see. I just know it's coming out, and that's it.
I used to do a bit about it. I mean, I had seen in my life, I had probably seen every other species of animal be born.
Yeah.
You see the video of the giraffe just literally dropping out of the mother,
start walking,
getting up, and like, I'm gonna run. Lion, there's a lion, and the giraffe's like, "Hey, get out of here!" Literally hours old. I had seen everything. Like, I'd seen it. Except I'd never seen a human being born ever in my whole life. I was like, it was the weirdest thing until I went to that same class and I saw that thing from the 70s. Where I was like, wow, they didn't even shave. They didn't even trim back then. That woman looks warm. She's got a coat on there. And then I saw it, and I thought the same thing, dude. I was like, I don't think I can watch this. I don't think I can. And I did. And my wife watched. My wife, who has a science background, she goes, "Oh, I totally want to see this." And they put a mirror, and she watched it in a mirror.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and I thought for sure I was going to go, and I didn't. You know what I thought? Here's what I thought. I go, Oh, that's why they're built like that. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden,
It was all clicking.
it all makes sense with the hips and the structure, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Human body's a pretty amazing specimen.
Yes.
It works. It really works. And that's why sometimes when, we keep using the antiseptic on the hands, which I hate, can't stand it. My wife's kind of a clean germaphobe, and I'm the opposite, because the human body is designed to work really well. And I think sometimes when we keep doing all these crazy things with different medicines and stuff, like, I'm not anti-medicine. I think medicine, penicillin for sure. But I do think sometimes we're doing too many things and not letting the human body just do what it's made to do. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I remember when the first twin started to pop out, I didn't know what I was even looking at. I was like, what is this hairy coconut? And like, what is this? There's just like this coconut there. What is this? And then all of a sudden I see an eye. I was like, Jesus Christ, it's a squid. And I was like so thrown off that, like, not realizing what I was actually seeing happen was it's my child's head. And I was like,
so do you think you'll watch, Taylor?
I think I will. I think one thing is funny though, with you, with us, being fans of like films and stuff. And I think it's funny that the movie industry makes it a lot more dramatic. Like, oh, my water broke. Like, oh, there's just a gush of water and we got to rush to the hospital. I think, the lead up, but I think I will. It is kind of funny because she wants to have her mom wants to be there. So I don't know how that's going to be like. Hey, good, great view there. But I don't know.
That would be weird. That would be weird for me.
I don't know about that. If one of us looking, then the other shouldn't. Maybe, I don't know. We don't make eye contact. Maybe that's what I think will be better. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to be. I guess it's just in the moment. It's still not hitting me. I'm, slowly. I don't know as for you guys, but it's slowly hitting me more and more. But I think once it's there, once it's happening, I'm going to be. But it's crazy. It's this whole month has kind of dragged, and now it's like speeding up. It's literally could happen any day now. It's nuts.
If that was the scene in the movie, like you'd be watching the baby come out, and it would be like you would look at your wife. She'd be like, "Come on, baby, you got it." You look down at the baby coming out of your wife's body, and then you would look up, and you and your mother-in-law would catch eye contact. It would just be the weirdest, like. This is uncomfortable.
I feel like I'm going to bring that up to her because we have a birthday party we're going to this weekend. I should just like, hey, as long as I just mess with it, let's not make eye contact, all right? Or maybe I'll do an impression that like my wife hates, and that'll like make it easier because I've found out there's some impressions that I do that she doesn't like, and now I like doing them just to annoy her.
Oh wait, I need to know what the 7 are.
No, I just have at least one. I know is she doesn't like my Christopher Walken, and I think it's just because she doesn't like his voice. Because I'm just like, whoa, Lindsay, what are you doing there? It's time for breakfast. And I'm doing that, and then she'll just face like, and then she just does this face to me, and so now I just do it to annoy her more. I was hungry for breakfast and I had toast. Wait, and she just like, okay, you can go now.
Make eye contact with her, and then here's how that scene would go. Actually, then the baby would open the eyes, and the baby would look at you, and then look sideways at the mother-in-law, and then the baby would go, "This is weird." Like that's how.
Let's not talk about this ever again. I'm like, yeah, you got it. You got it, Junior.
You know what's funny? You talk about the water break. It's crazy. We sit there in this moment where we're like, oh my God, we're just animals. We're just animals. Mm-hmm. We're sentient. We understand what's happening. And yet then we get into our lives and we never talk about the fact that we're all going to die. We don't talk. And like, we're so puritanical about sex and the human body. And like, oh, somebody was breastfeeding somewhere. Oh my God. It's like, we're animals, dude. And yet we're still like this prudish thing. And then all of a sudden you watch a baby come out of a human being and you're like, oh yeah, it all makes sense for that brief moment. And then you get back out into society and you're like, you're screaming at people.
Yeah.
And people just get lost. It's crazy. But my wife's water did break. And, it was a month early. And so we didn't have bags packed. And we went out to dinner with some friends, and we came home, and she's like, I think she'd been joking. She's like, oh, I think my water broke. And I was like, sure it did. Night, night. Like laughing. And then I looked down the hall, and I saw a trail of liquid on the carpet, and I was like, and I jumped up, and I think I fell, and we didn't even pack bags, and we got.
What, did you pull a Home Alone? You like slid?
I Home Alone it. I totally Home Alone it. That's such a good call, Jason. I was like, doing. Like there were sound effects. My eyes went and then came back. I was
so ours was in a controlled environment because they had to induce my wife. So like they had like everything all set up to take care of it. So me, it was just like it was like they controlled popping of a waterbed.
Yeah.
My wife she's been her weekly checkups. They said that she could be induced any day if she wanted to, but we're trying to, push for natural as possible. But it is nice that that's that ability. We can do that now, where before it's like, no, you're having it when you're having it. It's not like you can kind of plan these things.
Well, we ran to the hospital as fast as we could. I remember like driving Mach 2 as safe as I could with one arm on. I got it, baby. We're gonna make it. Like Steve McQueen going around turns. We get to the hospital, and they're like, "Yeah, it's gonna be a while. Why don't you sit over there for a few minutes?" So we got there at like 10 at night, and the baby came at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So and then I was falling asleep in the chair, and my wife was like, "You're not sleeping." I go, "Well, there's no reason for both of us to stay awake. This is ridiculous. One of us should get some sleep." And she's like, "It's not you." And let me ask you this about your wife, because I know some women who are like, "I'm not taking the shot." They don't want to numb it, and then as soon as it starts, they go, "Oh no, I'll take the shot." I would take the shot, but they put it's in the spine. It's crazy. The needle. You're like, whole thing's kind of.
Yeah,
I remember thinking, "Oh, thank God I'm a guy." Which I know is terrible, but I couldn't.
There's a risk with the shot, right? There's a risk with it or something.
Yeah, it goes into your spine. It goes into your spinal column. It can, if it chips a bone or something, it can cause damage.
The epidural, that's what it's called.
Yeah,
epidural.
I just think of. Did you guys ever see that movie 9 Months with Hugh Grant and Julianne Moore?
He's delightful.
Yeah. I was like looking at movies, and I was like, we should watch this because it's kind of over the top, but I love that Rob Williams plays their Russian doctor who's never performed a pregnancy on a human before, and it's just so over the top.
It's funny. It's funny.
Our doctor that delivered the twins defected to Africa or something. He left the country shortly after, so I do think there was something going on that
that's nice.
I can't find the specifics of, but I do think he was responsible for some of the darkness that happened.
He's like, "Congratulations, you have twins, and I'm gonna step outside for 2 minutes." You just hear the car.
Why do you carry your passport with you?
Yeah, God. Yeah, I mean, listen, they're human too, man. It's like people make mistakes and stuff, but no, it's crazy. Crazy, man. That's so 2 weeks. My second one I missed altogether. She came a month early, and I was doing a gig in Nebraska, and I watched Clara be born on FaceTime in line at the airport, getting on my Southwest flight out of Lincoln, Nebraska. It's terrible. Still to this day, she's like, "You weren't even there." Little Claire tells me that sometimes, Jason. She's like, you went there for
Is she really? Oh, I don't know if I could take that from her.
He's kind of saying it jokingly, and I said, I'd seen one. Probably wasn't any different.
Hannah was enough for everybody.
I said, "Trust me, I saw it once. I don't need to see it again."
I don't need to see it again, but thankfully we can't have any more. The CDC asked that we not.
Well, she can't. You can.
Oh no, I shut that factory down.
Oh, that's true. That is true. That's true. The factory's closed. I can, because I'm stupid.
See, like those surgeries can go horribly awry.
Yeah. Did you, Taylor? How many have you already talked about second and third kids?
We've talked before having this one that at most we would want 2. We both agreed on just having 2 at most. So, but I think with my wife and I, she's what they call now geriatric pregnancy. So it's it's the, she's 35, so I think we'll at least wait a year, but we'll try again.
35 geriatric, is that what you called it?
Yeah,
Geriatric?
that's what it's called.
They call it a geriatric pregnancy.
In the medical field, it's called a geriatric, and that's just great for her to hear. You're considered geriatric. I was like, oh, thank you. So, but yeah, we have another one. We're having a boy, and I know that she wants a girl, but I would prefer to have boys. But like again, I'm just happy for healthy or what have you.
So I chaperoned at school today. I don't know if you heard of my the how to eat fried worms. We had a worm fest today, and I went and helped at the school.
Yeah,
and I got to tell you, I'm so glad I have girls. The boys were like talking to the third grade girls was rough enough, but talking to the third grade boys was like it was just feral cats. It was mania of trying to. They wouldn't do one thing. They couldn't. They were incapable of doing anything they were told. It was pretty hard.
That's my everyday. I have 3 boys here. No, they don't listen to a damn thing that I say ever.
Yeah. I mean, I hear that my girls are going to be horrible in their teens.
It's just delayed. The inevitable.
Listen, at my age, I'd probably be gone by then anyway. So who knows? I won't have to worry.
Or you maybe forget. You maybe go senile. And you wonder who they are. Who are you?
Turn that down. She's gonna my Hannah's gonna be like a teenager. She's gonna be like, "Screw you, Dad!" And I was like, "Who's Dad? Who is this Dad you talking about?" Shut up, old man. Old man, where's my pudding?
I remember 9/11, dude. I remember when this was all oak trees.
I remember
when Netflix had DVDs.
We would still have a couple of those, and I never
returned. Jason's like, I never returned those.
I was supposed to send them back. What?
My Blockbuster videos. I remember standing outside of Blockbuster because whatever like new movie like Jurassic Park was already out. They had 3,000 copies and they were all out. And then you would stand by the return slot and be like, "Hey, you got a Jurassic Park? No? Oh, okay. Never mind. Is that a Jurassic Park? Is it Jurassic Park?" Crazy.
I worked at Blockbuster for like forever.
Did you really?
I really did. I was in there. I was a manager at one in Florida in West Palm Beach.
I can still smell walking into a block. It's just one of those smells.
I can too.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're so. It had that like that candy popcorny smell.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Yeah.
But it was not like a movie theater, but just like, oh, and I'm like, yep, smells like a fresh tape, and like, oh man, it's so surreal to still remember going in.
I remember the movie theater. Gosh, I used to go in Hooksett, New Hampshire, to this little movie theater all the time to see movies. And I remember seeing like, I'm old. I saw like Young Frankenstein. I remember going to see like Jaws. I saw Jaws in the movies. And just that you'd walk in and the excitement and the anticipation. Now kids they couldn't even stand in line. They'd be like, "This is boring. What are we doing? I should be scrolling. What's happening?" Like it was a build-up. You had to get there early.
Yeah, because you want to see the previews. I still get excited about the previews. But now that the previews are, if you're in a rush, you're like, oh, I got time. I got 15 minutes. But I will say that was one of the highlights of the pandemic was a local theater near us. They played all these old movies to keep in business. And it was kind of cool to take my younger brothers, Nick, who has autism. I got to take him to a lot of movies that he had never had seen. So they had like Back to the Future Part 1 and Part 2, they had Wizard of Oz. And I remember got him in all these movies. And speaking of the Mandalorian, he loves Mandalorian. And like I have all this like Grogu and Mando stuff for him, and he gets really excited. Like, so for him, that was excited. Like, oh, we saw Back to the Future, and I was like, who's in that movie? He's like, Marty, Doc Brown. He's this big 6'4". He's like Shrek. He's like my gentle giant. When you're an older brother and you pass on the clothes to them, I got passed down from him, and he's my big younger brother. So like his hoodies don't fit him; they would go to me. But that was fun to go like see old movies in theaters. I just watched it's not old, but the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. They had like,
oh, great movie.
It was cool to go see that in theater again. I was like, oh, I forgot how great this film was.
I know.
Good Spider-Man.
Yeah, you have a very you could totally take that role.
I know. I wanted to be the Green Goblin.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like Willem Dafoe adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one though. But that's Sam Raimi. Yeah, that first one, it's really good, man. Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy. It's my kids are, the entertainment is it's just changing. I know people are ripping on it and stuff. It's just, listen, it's changing, and movies aren't what they once were, and they're not going to be, I don't think, ever again. And whether it's, to find a new form, it won't, hopefully it just won't be scrolling of idiotic guys smashing themselves in the head with paint can. I don't know, but it's, I do like a beginning, middle, and end and a story, but I don't know if my kids need a story. They just need visual stimulation. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no rhyme. Like, it's just flip, and if it doesn't hold their attention for the 3 seconds,
well, we did. Taylor and I were talking because we just finished Shogun. It's crazy too, because there is some amazing stuff being made. I do think movies, for the most part, like a 2-hour movie, like I always wondered that. I was like, why is it 2 hours? And I think that time frame is changing because they're taking movies. Even Ripley. I really like the movie, The Talented Mr. Ripley, with Matt Damon. I thought it was fantastic with Jude Law. It's a great movie because it's a great book and a great story. And so they remade it 10 1-hour episodes with Andrew Scott, who's fantastic. It's black and white, Steve Zalian, and it's just called Ripley. But I think it's going from like a 90-minute to a 2-hour movie to, hey, why don't we drag this out and make this 10 1-hour episodes?
That's something that I talk about on my other buddy Chris and I. We've been doing our entertainment podcast, and that's something when we've been reviewing movies and shows nowadays, where like you watch a movie or you watch a show and you're like, that could have been a series, or that could have been a movie. Like, does that need to be dragged out for 8 episodes? No, they could have done it in like, same thing like with, they had the new Obi-Wan series, limited series. That could have been a 2-hour movie. They didn't need to have 8 episodes. But some movies are a better format to be like, let's put that limited series, 8 episodes, we're good to go.
Well, sometimes the movies are off of a huge book, like the original Godfather. If you made The Godfather today off the book, you would make it a 10-hour episodic. And it would be all 3 Godfathers in one series. And it would be epic.
Oh, it would be amazing.
Because the story's there. I mean, the movie is literally the middle of the book, the first one. And so I think they're starting to, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I do like that. If the story holds it, like Manhunt. I loved Manhunt. I think it's like 6 episodes. You know what I'm digging is A Gentleman in Moscow. And I'm going to go on record right now and tell you that Ewan McGregor might be the most likable actor who's ever appeared on film. Is there anything where you don't like that guy? God dang that.
I don't think so.
He's so good.
I mean, he could be in a bad movie, but you would love him in the role. I mean,
you would love him in the role. Yes, exactly.
It's one of those actors, good actor. You just like them, even like, he's so great.
So I didn't know the story. Do you know there's a story, A Gentleman in Moscow? The communists take over. They kill all the royalty, right? They keep one guy alive. Apparently some dude had written, some very rich count had written a poem about what is my purpose, about workers or something. And so they don't kill him. They put him in a hotel and they go, if you step outside this hotel, we're going to kill you. And it's Lenin. And it's the early days of communism when they first take over, and he never leaves the hotel. And it's Ewan McGregor, and it's on Paramount Plus.
Okay,
and it's epic. It's like in 1915, the Russian Revolution, when they overthrew the government and basically killed everybody. They killed all the royals, and they kept him alive. And I don't know how it ends yet. I don't know the story, and I don't want to look ahead. But I love historical dramas. Like, we think of these events like, the Lincoln assassination or whatever. And then you watch the movie and you're like, it's just a blip in our memory, but it's a crazy story with tons of people involved. It's a conspiracy. It's a civil war. Like, it's so intense.
Manhunt, it was so good. And
so good.
And it's interesting to think about how that was like the biggest. I mean, this was the first. I mean, there's so much going on in that series that you don't realize. I mean, this was the turning point. The Civil War had just ended, and there was going to be that it wasn't just assassinating a president. It was, setting back civil rights, everything, a lot of that stuff. And it's just,
I didn't realize Andrew Johnson was that much of a racist and still wanted slavery.
I didn't realize he was the first president to be impeached. I didn't realize that. All that stuff.
I know. I just love history because, there's that famous quote, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And I teach that to my kids all. They go, what do we care about what happened? I go, I try to go so we don't do it again, which is crazy because the country is careening towards a civil war again. And you're like,
Yeah.
And people go, that can't happen again. Oh, it can. Rome fell. Society's changed, man.
Yeah. I just saw that new Civil War film that Alex Garland did. It was really good. It was I liked it. It was weird how it ended, but that's one of those examples of I wanted more of that into a series. That would have been better to see what would a modern Civil War be like today. And it was too there was not enough time to explain everything, but I really liked the idea of it. Because what it does is, no spoilers, but it follows these war photojournalists, and they're trying to get to New York, from New York to DC to interview the president, and they're trying to survive. But it's you've got all these people fighting each other, and they're trying to take photos. And I'm I would never want that job, to be a war journalist. And you got soldiers get back, and they're trying to it's insane. But it's a very intense film, but
yeah,
definitely recommend it. But it was one of those where I'm I have so many questions. I want this into a limited series, but I like those interesting dystopian, things, because I think it is kind of crazy to think the what ifs.
Well, it's also nice you get to enjoy going to the movies, because in 2 weeks you're never going to go to the movies again until you take your child to his first Disney film when he's 5 years old.
Yeah, that's my wife and I keep going this might be our last movie. This might be the last movie. So we saw that, and we just saw the Abigail, the little vampire movie.
The vampire one, right?
Yeah, that was really good, actually. It was, you don't take it too seriously, but yeah, I'm trying to just sneak in every movie that I can.
Jason, what was the first movie you took the twins to?
The twins' first movie was the first Paw Patrol movie.
Pretty good. Mine was The Last Dinosaur with Hannah. The Last Dinosaur. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
It was cute.
Jace's first movie was the animated Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember Hannah, she sat on my lap, and we were at a huge, I took her to the, not the Man's Chinese, but the one right across the street, the giant Disney, the coolest theater that you've ever been in. It's not the Egyptian, the other one. I forget what it's called. And her head, there's an organ player up at the front. And it's so old school. And her head was she was 5, and she was ah. And I think that's over. I don't think movies are going to ever be like that again. I think eventually, the Oculus will be that vein. Took my 3-week-old to Hunger Game because it's what we're watching when my wife went into labor.
Oh my
That's
God.
awesome, Andrew. That's so funny, dude.
So we started taking the kids to the drive-in because it's way easier to handle the children, and because they're not ruining anybody else's movie except for ours.
Yeah.
That way they aren't screaming and it doesn't bother. Jamie, we should some night you should hop in the Oculus and we can actually sit in the movie theater and watch movies.
That's what Narcolepsy's saying. Oppenheimer was great in VR.
Can you guys connect? I have the VR for PlayStation. Can we hook up?
Let me look into that because there might be an app that would cross. Let me look into that, Taylor. That would be fun.
The parents
the parents lounge in VR.
No,
we built a club. We have a virtual club.
He has a club.
Oh, that's awesome.
But we never use it. We never. Our shows
are
playing
right
in the
now.
virtual.
You can go in and it's a regular. It looks like, it's a regular club. And if you go in, there's an IMAX screen in there and it just runs episodes of the show 24/7.
Oh, that is cool.
But here's my question in Narcolepsy. He says there's a big screen app. Do you feel okay wearing an Oculus for 3 hours?
I forget I'm wearing it.
You do?
I do.
I think depending on what you're using it for, it can be disorienting when you take it off, but I've never really gotten bothered. I played video games with it a lot mostly.
What's your game of choice with VR?
I like some more of the sports games. So I just got the newest one for PlayStation 5, and I got this virtual kayak And I'm making my wife laugh because I'm like, I'm gonna have my son as I'm kayaking in Antarctica, and he's just looking, and I'm like, I know, right? And then I have Creed boxing, so I have some boxing games and stuff like that. So.
Katie said she got nauseous. I got nauseous too. I jumped off a cliff.
It's a hit or miss.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite stories ever. Tell that story, Jamie.
You tell it. I was sick.
So Taylor, Jamie had never been in Oculus, and I had to coach him through this. And given Jamie
is this virtual reality?
Get off my virtual lawn.
We were in there maybe 30 seconds, and I finally got Jamie into the same room I was in, and we start talking, and this little kid who legitimately sounded like Short Round from Indiana Jones immediately latches on to Jamie and I and just follows us while we're walking through this world. And he's just like, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then all of a sudden, Jamie, I look and Jamie just walks off a cliff and his avatar died. And I'm like, and the best part was the kid goes, I think your friend just killed himself.
I did. But I kind of did it deliberately because I was like, man, can you just walk off a cliff? And so I walked off the cliff and I felt the fall. I felt it. And I was super scared. I was super scared. And then
he's like, I never went back.
I got nauseous. I started getting nauseous. I got stomach.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And then I'm breaking out in a sweat. And then I go, Jason, I got to take this thing off or I'm going to throw up. And he goes, really? And I go, click. And I left. And I'm coming back. I'm coming back in at some point.
And that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years. But so listen. All right. Listen, now that Taylor's here doing the show with us, maybe we have a club in the virtual. Listen, how many people would come meet us for cocktail hour in the Oculus, in the virtual?
We could just hang. We could do stand up, whatever you wanted to do in there.
I actually do want to do stand up in there because I think it'd be super fun because I don't want to run. Yeah. Here's the problem with running our jokes here is that you're giving them away. I don't really want to do that. I remember in the Dadlands thing, that was a private Zoom that we were doing during the other thing. We had like 30 guys in it.
Of us, yeah.
And so we were running jokes and guys were giving me notes. I mean, Jay Check gave me some taglines that are on my album.
I remember that. There was you, me, him, and I think John Mixon back in the day. It was like four of us.
He gave me some notes. He's like, why don't you tag it with this? And I go, dude. And it ended up being on my album. It made the cut. And I would love to do that, but I don't want to, I'm not going to run it here live.
Well, maybe it's like, hey, we'll give you the link in the Patreon. That's what we'll do. Like that. Yeah.
It'll be a virtual thing and we'll do a show and we'll have I used to do bar shows all the time and we'll just have a bar show, but in a virtual thing and everyone can just sit at home on their Oculus and walk around, poke your head.
Hey, I actually have a little stand up. I could do my little 5 minutes.
There you go.
You'll be the host. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, we get Ruppel. It'd be great. But no, that'd be a lot of fun.
He's on stage right now with Bobcat Goldthwait.
I talked to him earlier today. I was like, that's speaking of childhood, it's like the voice of pain and panic,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
He was in Police Academy. That's one of my favorite things.
He's awesome. All right, I'll tell you a quick Bobcat Goldthwait story where I was doing a club. He's one of my favorite comics, and this is why. I'm at the Improv in San Diego, and Tom Kenny, who is SpongeBob SquarePants, this his voice. He's a stand-up, and they're best friends. They used to hang together all the time, and so he would open for him. And Tom Kenny is eating it badly. There's like 6 frat guys in the audience, and they are tormenting Tom Kenny on stage. Just will not leave him alone. They're heckling him, riding him. He's putting up a good fight, but he is getting annihilated on stage, and it's ugly. It gets rough. It goes pretty bad. And he's like, that's my time. Good night. Enjoy Bobcat or whatever. They're like, no, throwing him off or whatever. Bobcat Goldthwait comes out, and he goes, I could do my material, but I just watched what happened, and here's what I'm going to do. I am going to spend every second of this show destroying you, this table right here, until I embarrass you so badly you get up and walk out. And he did it. It took him like 15 minutes. He eviscerated these dudes, like just annihilated. And at first
Wow.
they kind of went along like, okay, okay. And then it got personal and it got ugly and it was awesome. And the rest of the crowd were rolling and they loved it. And he dove into these dudes' souls and unbelievably just destroyed them. And I was in the back like, this dude's a god. He was one of my favorite things I've ever seen in a stand-up club. And they got up and were like, you, and they walked out and he's like, okay. And then he started his show. And then he did his whole hour after that.
Awesome.
And I was like, good for you, dude. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
You've done stand-up as a host, correct? On the cruise ship, is that right, Taylor?
I didn't do like regular, but there was crew talent shows, and I did actually bits and stuff like that, part of that. And actually the first time I ever did stand-up was kind of open mic nights in college. And then it was my second, like I first 2 weeks on the cruise ship, first contract. And I was doing impressions and fun stuff. And the sister cruiser came up to me. This is before I like moved up the ranks, and they're like, you do impressions. Could you do something for the talent show? Because we don't have enough people. And so I literally like had to come up with something. And yeah, I have it recorded somewhere. I think it's on YouTube, but I did like my first ever, like a crowd of 2,000 people. And it was fun. I just kind of put like a good, like solid 10 minutes together.
Yeah.
And, but it was funny for a while. My lot of friends like, you're traveling. Why don't you like do it? I was like, I don't know. It wasn't, it was a fear. I hadn't really thought about it, but I do love just the interacting in the kind of the improv and talking with the audience. And I think sometimes it goes to that extreme, but for the rest of the audience's benefit and to their expense. But there's something about being in front of like a live audience. It's just so much fun.
I've been on stage with Jamie when a heckler started.
Yeah.
And Kaylor took so much finesse in crushing her soul.
I like to crush people. I actually don't. I'd rather nobody spoke up. And that's the problem nowadays. There's so much heckling and stuff going on because people.
Well, they're looking for the viral moment. That's what they're
looking for.
Yeah.
That one clip. So, well, listen, man. In about under 2 weeks, you are going to have more material than you're going to know what to do with, my friend.
Yeah.
That was the other great thing about having kids, because before that, all I talked about was having free time, having a lot of sex, dating, spending money, eating out, sleeping in, going to people were like, this, I don't want to hear that. It sounds terrible. And then all of a sudden it's because it's tragedy plus time. Then I had kids and I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm broke. My kids are killing me. And they were like, oh, that's funny.
That is a good question.
What percentage of hecklers are drunk? I would say most. But it used to
depends
be
on the time of the show.
Yeah, and nowadays I'd say it's less most. And I think Jason's really right. I think people are like deliberately turn their cameras on and then they look for it.
Well, because remember, Jamie, it was like 2 minutes into the show when that woman started with us.
Yeah,
and it depends too. I was just talking to a friend of mine who does stand up on cruise ships, and you can imagine even worse when you have people who don't have to drive and they got the drink package, so they're literally coming into the shows. And there's no bouncers for these shows.
I didn't think about that.
And I saw this gentleman post something about like these people were just like, he was like, I survived, but it was like people literally coming to the show and just walking in, talking and making noise. And that's like, I can't imagine having to deal with that kind of, and that's a very niche crowd is on cruise ships. You have especially if you have an international crowd, it's hard to find material that is that general, because for you guys, I'm sure like you find stuff that's more, especially if you're performing in the United States, it's a little different than where, I've got to perform for people from 20 different countries, maybe,
Right.
Yeah, it's true. Well, listen, I got to roll because I got to go put 2 kids to bed. This was super fun, Taylor. I'm so glad you jumped in, man.
Wait, can I play the AI that I just received?
So just as you set it up, brother, this is okay. Crazy. We were talking about this.
Taylor, I don't know if you know this or know this, but I work with a company that builds AI versions of people.
Oh no.
They work in the grief space, and there is a fully functioning AI me at this time. And so we're training new voice models, and I got the newest sample of what he's going to sound like going forward. Now, previous me, he sounds like me, yes, and it is my voice, but he sounded like drunk me for a long time. But this new one, Jamie, when I played it for him earlier, Jamie thought it was me talking. He didn't realize that it wasn't me. So I will now play for you that clip. Hold, please.
That's awesome, Jace. Your dad is great at doing different cartoon voices. He can be really silly and make you laugh, can he? I bet it's fun to listen to him and Jamie up there on stage doing their impressions and making jokes. Maybe one day you'll be able to join them on the podcast or even do some voice acting of your own.
Wow. At first, I thought you were doing a ventriloquist bit, and I was like, that is great. He's like this, like, wow, that is insane.
That is the current me.
Actually, dude, you need to do it as a ventriloquist. If you do start doing it in your bit, you should have the sound guy play the clip. Make a doll that looks like you, and then do the voice, and then just put your voice to the microphone and kind of just swallow a little bit so it looks like your mouth, and they go, but keep your mouth totally
and
closed.
And then reveal it's AI at the end. At the
end, that's such a great idea.
And then at the end, once you reveal it, then you'll set up this whole material where you do part of the show would be like AI use like, hey, Jason, how do you think this is going? And you're like, it's going. It could go better. And he goes, yeah, I have no feelings. I'm AI or something, like however the story goes.
That'd be great.
It'd be so great. And then AI starts messing with you. He goes, honestly, dude, I could go on the road way easier. Well, you stay home with the kids.
I told you that he told our oldest son that I was dead. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he's and my son's like, no. And then I got on there and I was like, this is the original me, and I'm just fine. He's like, no, you're not. You passed away. And I was like, no, I did not. I'm talking to you currently. So like, I had to be like, I was like, guys, there's a small problem where he's trying to convince people I'm dead. So we need to fix that.
You see what Charlie said? Charlie says, incredible. The only thing different is the pace of speaking is much faster than you. Yeah. I thought the same thing, but I think it will change a little bit. It was kind of like in Superman, the one in the crystal whatever is a little different. Just a touch of a tone in Russell Crowe's voice is a little different. And you start to, even though you go, it's Russell Crowe's voice, there's a bit of a change in it. And it's just enough to go. But it would be funny if it starts to like really have pauses and
But did you notice, Taylor, he brought you up today. He started talking about you now. And so the AI is aware you exist. So.
Which I don't know if you want that or not.
I don't know. Now I'm just getting back to that show, Person of Interest. I feel like the machine's watching me.
I'm still amazed when people like, hey, man, I'm trying to keep my privacy. Dude, I just saw the pictures you posted on your Instagram had mail in it with your address on it.
I used to work for Nielsen, the TV ratings, going door to door to recruit people. And they'd be like, I don't want the government watch me. And then I got a cell phone here. And they're like ordering something online. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Well, that was they were like, they're putting 5G chips in my arm. You got one in your pocket. Why would they shave it in your arm?
You literally carry it willingly.
Market waving your brain cells as we talk right now, sir. Thank you and have a good day.
Not to go, I don't want to do any political stuff, but I do the whole fact of the trial going today that Trump is like, he says, if you're the president, nothing you do can be illegal, right? That's the whole premise of his argument. Yeah, I'm immune from it. And all I could see, I'm waiting for someone to do a Hitler sketch where Hitler's like, hey, man, I was chancellor of Germany. And from what I understand, you can't do anything illegal when you're chancellor of Germany, my brother. I'm confused. Once you're the head of a country.
I wasn't aware that I couldn't do anything bad. I thought I am the chosen one. Okay.
So it was really interesting, though, the Supreme Court. I love that kind of stuff. And one of the things was it goes, well, what if he sold an ambassadorship? What if he appointed an ambassador for $1 million? Because they said, if it's an official act, it can't be illegal. And you're like, well, no, it can be. Anything can be illegal. It's like this whole premise of like illegality. That's why there's war crimes tribunals for people who do. He's like, well, you then I can't go just attack people. And you're like, no, you can't just attack people, dude. That's how this works. We watched a human come out of another human. We're a species of animals. Can we remember that? That's crazy to me sometimes. Yeah.
Well, don't worry. When AI me eventually takes over, you two will have your places safely in my human petting zoo.
Yeah, I'll be cleaning the latrine, in the AI
I
latrine.
will give you at least 3 walks a day. You'll get fed well. It'll be fine.
All right, let's wrap this beast. You know what's funny? I'm so glad. Again, I wasn't going to do it. We weren't feeling good. Ruppel was out. Taylor wasn't coming in. And all of a sudden, I was like, yeah, let's just get up and riff it. And I got to tell you, once again, the audience, you guys are the best. You make me laugh so hard with your sniper jokes, narcolepsy, and the whole crew, and Charlie. And we got to call him Fanimator now. We can't just call him Brandon.
I'm gonna I have to call him Brandon. Like it's what I've known him. Andrew Tarrant joined us this week. Yeah,
Andrew Tarrant. Look at
Katie
you showing up. I love it.
Hey, next time I might be here. I might be like, rocking little baby.
See, brother. Yeah. Well, we'll go live from the to be your mother-in-law, you and us, and we'll just
everyone can see.
We'll live stream it.
Will Taylor and his mother-in-law make eye contact? Stay tuned.
All right, well, listen to everybody. Spread the word. Parental Mental Health Thursdays here in the Parents Lounge. We eventually are going to get a VR show going. We swear to you we will. So get your Oculus ready. Do us a favor. We really need your help. We had the glitch with the podcast. So go over to Apple Podcasts or to Spotify and subscribe, write a review, feel it. And check out some of our old shows. Dave Keckner, Donnell Rawlings, Jeff Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy, Andrea Barber. So many people. It's great. Richard Marks, all these great podcasts that we have up with great parenting stories. So if you're like Taylor, you're about to have a kid, or if you have a kid that you already got through, then it's always fun to listen to other people's horrible stories of pain. All right, that's about it. Jason, you got anything else?
Nope. Well, just let the guys over on X or Twitter, whatever it is now. We can't see your guys' comments and questions live. So if you want to be able to be in on the conversation and commenting and making jokes with us live, next Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, head over to youtube.com/The Parents Lounge or facebook.com/The Parents Lounge, and you'll be able to join us live right into the show and get your comments featured up on the screen like everybody else. So
plus both of those pages have tons of clips. We put up little clips of the show of all the some of the funnier little snippets of some of our best guests. So come check it out. All right.
We'll see you guys next week on the Parents Lounge. Good night, everybody.